So Constance Zimmer, UnReal is one of those unique shows that's able to change up its narrative every season because each season features a brand new cast of characters searching for love in all the wrong places. This year is really unique because you guys have a female suitor on the show. How did that change up the dynamic, freshen up the show? What did having a female suitor do for this season?
Well, it did all of the obvious things where you have two very strong female leads, and then we brought in a third strong female lead. And we are all incredibly opinionated and incredibly feel that our vision is the right vision and the only vision, which is what women do. And so what it did was it created a dynamic between Rachel and Quinn that we had never seen before, that they weren't fighting against men. Now they were fighting with a woman, but they wanted to empower the woman at the same time. And it made, I think, both of them very aware at how much they take down women. Even though that's not their goal, they just kind of have a different way of dealing with women and trying to get women to own their shit, pretty much. And Caitlin, playing Serena, you know, she came in saying, I want to do this. I want to be here. This is going to work for me. I believe I can find the love of my life, but I'm going to do it on my terms, which was not an easy thing to delegate because you can't on reality television and nothing is on your terms. And so it definitely added this feeling for two women. How do you empower and manipulate a woman at the same time, making her believe that you have her best interests, even though sometimes it's the best interests of the show? And you can't sexualize with a woman like women would do with a man. So it really became more of a conversation of there are women who tear women down and there are women who empower women. And then there's the ones in the middle. And we all got to try and decide who we were on the show, obviously.
Well, one of the interesting things this show has always explored is feminism and, of course, the way that women attract men, whether it's attracting a male suitor or, in this case, a female suitor trying to attract all of these bachelors who are vying for her. I mean, there's an interesting scene kind of early on in the season where you got Chet on one side saying, dumb yourself down, be more deferential, and you got Rachel on the other side who says, remain true to yourself, be a strong female. Can you talk a bit about that dynamic?
Well, it's real. And that's, I think, what is the scariest thing, to not only play it, but to see it on television. That those are true situations that I think women are faced with all the time, no matter what you do in your job or in your career, or even trying to find a partner. A lot of times you have to dumb down the fact that you are as successful as you are in order to not make the other person feel bad. And because a lot of people have a hard time being with someone who might be more successful than they are, especially if it's a woman and a man, because men have been brought up as being the breadwinners, as being the ones in charge, and the woman stays home and makes the food and takes care of the kids. And we're not living in those times anymore. Women are being given opportunities that we were never given 5 years ago, even. And so it was those scenes were the hardest ones, I think, for me to listen to, and then to see see Serena's character say, I'm going to go with what he's saying because he's a man and he knows, and then to play it out on the show that it worked was just another horrifying thing to watch. Because when women are strong and they know what they want, they're considered a bitch. They are considered difficult to work with. And it is amazing to me how different it is for men than women. And that was what we got to play, I think, throughout the season on our show. Because we're a show within a show within a show, we can kind of break those down. And that was, in the simplest way, showing something that I think women struggle with every single day, no matter what they're doing or what their job is. And, it's what I love about doing on this show is kind of talking about things that are super uncomfortable. And I hope that people take more from it now because of the time we're living in. Mm-hmm. And the awareness of that this is real. It's not just exaggerated for television anymore.
Well, certainly those insults are lobbed at Quinn quite a bit because she is somebody who is strong-minded and independent, and a lot of the behavior that she exudes on set, were it exuded by a male in that situation, would be called strong and opinionated. But because of it's Quinn,
right.
It's often used as an insult. Can you talk a bit about that and some of the things that Quinn goes through this season personally?
It was obviously a very hard character for me to embrace at the beginning because of everything you're saying. I was afraid everybody would hate me. Nobody would understand the character's plight, and that everybody was just going to think I was mean and vicious and vindictive. And as soon as I got a lot of people to tell me that that wasn't going to be the case, I had to embrace everything about her, right? I had to embrace that she was just trying to live and exist in a man's world by being a little bit more like a man. And that's a sad statement to say, but that's how you get people to respect you. You have to stand up for who you are. You have to stand up for your beliefs, and you have to be confident in those, because then people can't question it. And I'm very, very happy. And every single day a fan comes up to me and just says, thank you so much for telling these stories, for putting this character out there. We all wanted to think we weren't going to like her and we were going to hate her for what she was doing. But it's really turned into such an incredible role for people to look at and say, I can do this. I can do this on my terms. I can fight for what I believe in. If I'm talented and I have it within me, I can make it happen. And look, Quinn's whole storyline this season is about how everybody wants to take her down just for doing what she's been doing and saying that she doesn't support women, and she can't be called a feminist because look at the show that I'm doing. It's all about trying to make women look their weakest. And she would never, I mean, it's so funny because I don't look at her that way, and I can't look at her that way. Otherwise, I can't play her. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that she has every single woman's best intentions at heart. She just has a very odd way about pushing the message forward. But to watch her feel like her whole career and her whole life was going to be over. It was fun to be able to bring up the whole sexual assault storyline in a time of Me Too, when we shot the show over a year ago, when none of this was out in the open yet. And I know for us shooting it, we felt nervous that we were going to be talking about this and that nobody would believe it. Nobody's going to believe that this guy has 12 sexual assault cases against him. Give me a break. That'll never happen. And then 6 months later, there it is. And it's worse than I think we ever could have anticipated. So watching that season now, and now with all of the awareness of it, it definitely felt incredibly empowering to say, we got you. We know what you've been up to, and we've just been waiting for our chance. And I'm proud of Quinn for that on the show, kind of representing that. And she has a man standing by her. She has Chet, who's by her side going, yes, yes, you did it. I knew you could do it. And that's what we have to remember. We are all in this together. If we're all going to succeed together, we all have to work together. So if there's the people out there in this business that don't want us to succeed, then they're not going to either. We can all do this together. It's not like us against them, or, you against me, and vice versa. And that is what I think, a lot of what we were trying to do in this season is, somebody trying to take somebody down for the way they do business. But Quinn didn't really have a choice. She's a woman in a man's world. And I don't know. I don't know. That was like a very long answer.
No, 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 that was great. In terms of female empowerment, I mean, not only do you have yourself and Shiri Appleby and all these women in front of the camera, but you get a lot of strong women behind the camera as well, and in the writers' room. And this season, you stepped behind the camera yourself to direct episode 8. Can you talk a bit about this? Is your very first piece of television you've directed? At least it's credited on IMDb that way. Is that correct?
Yes, I directed a couple of plays, but this was my first episodic television directorial debut. Yes, it sounds very, very official.
Well, as a director of some plays, talk about stepping behind the camera and directing for the first time. Why this episode also?
Well, I wish I could say that we could choose our episodes. We don't get to choose. The showrunners, producers, they choose for us based on availability of all directors for the whole season. And for me, it was about like different conflicts on the calendar of when I needed to be home, because we shoot the show in Vancouver and there's certain dates when I have to be home for my daughter, for plays, etc. So mine was actually revolved around that as far as availability of time and being able to stay in Vancouver for a solid 2 weeks to do prep, to shoot the show, and to do a little bit of post as well, the editing. But it was great. I mean, it was everything I think I hoped it would be and more. I've always wanted to direct, so it's not like it was something that just like came out of thin air and I thought, oh, sure, why not? Having directed a bunch of plays, I loved it. I love working with actors. I love being in control of everything. I might have a little bit of a control issue, but it works really well when you want to be a director. It really works in your favor. So I loved that. I loved that people had to listen to me because I was in charge, and that was exciting. And being able to tell the story from my point of view as an actor, I know how to do that as an actor. So being able to then see it in like a full picture of being able to pick the costumes and to cast it and to do little tweaks on script and being able to place them in certain situations that made the scene even more incredible, because the dialogue maybe wasn't that exciting, but where you put them and what happens around them, it lifts it, heightens it. And so I loved everything about it. I mean, I did another episode in season 4 too, and I love it. It's crazy how much I'm like, ooh, like, can I do both? I'd like to do both all the time. But the next directing I do, I would like to not be an actor in it. I would like to just be focused 100% on directing and telling the story.
Well, I was going to ask. I mean, I think you kind of touched on this a bit before, but as a longtime actor and with a lot of great credits under your belt, how did that help? What did you learn from that helped you as a director?
I mean, directing on UnReal was definitely a bonus because I know the actors, I know the crew, I know the sets, right? So all of that was not something I had to be so scared of. So for me, it was really about telling the stories of these characters in ways and in lights that we had not seen them before. Because I think the bonus of being an actor on a show that you then get to direct is we've seen all the directors before us direct scenes in certain ways, certain lights, and to know the sets that hadn't been used yet, to know the emotions that hadn't been portrayed yet in these characters. And because I was episode 8, I was very far into the season. So I knew what a lot of their journeys already were and ways that we had not seen them as an actor, especially I think from Serena. And so it gave me such a great opportunity to say, hey, we haven't seen this color yet. So this is such a great chance to show this color, but let's do it from a different place. Let's not do it from the place of being on a television show. Let's do it from a place of you are speaking to people who have been in this same situation. So like being able to talk to actors in a way that I wish directors talk to me, or directors in the past who have talked to me that way, I should say. We should give kudos to the ones that do. I drew from all of that. Like what what helps me as an actor and what doesn't help me. And what I love to be given is feeling that it's a collaboration and making sure that the actor's vision works with my vision, and making sure that we're a team and not setting people apart.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you about the relationship between Quinn and Rachel, played by Sherry Appleby. You go through a lot of twists and turns every season. Why are you two so bound at the hip? Why does Quinn, for all of Rachel's problems, keep having her come back and work on this show?
Because she knows the value of Rachel goes so far beyond what she's been through in her life. And I think we all want and need and should have that one person in our life, that it doesn't matter what we've been through in the past. It matters right now. And how do you move forward, and how do you heal from what's happened to you in the past? And because Quinn comes from also a very broken background to be the way that she is, right? And the armor she's built up. Rachel, to her, is a way of how she can teach Rachel how to be like Quinn, but not to do like Quinn. And I think that's a fine line. Like, we all talk about when we become parents. Oh God, my parents did this, and that's not how I want to parent my child. So you take the great things you learn from your parents, and then you delete the things that weren't great, and you pass that down to your kids. So I think that's a little bit of what Quinn feels like with Rachel. Like, Rachel is her opportunity to make a better version of Quinn, to teach her all the things that she did wrong, which is why she's so strong and so harsh with her. It's like, don't do what I do. There's that saying, right? Do as I say, don't do as I do.
Right.
And that is what I really feel is behind Quinn and Rachel. And Rachel knows that Quinn loves her for everything, the good, bad, the ugly, and otherwise. And that is a bond that just can't be severed. It doesn't, like, you can't do anything, couldn't do anything to break that bond. And I think it's incredibly important for that relationship to exist, for it to be that way. It can't really be any other way.
Right. Now, you are an Emmy nominee for this show. It was the first nomination of your career. What did that recognition mean for you?
Oh my God. It was, it was 2 years ago, and it still feels like it was yesterday, when I was randomly in Italy, of all places, and had horrible Wi-Fi and I kept refreshing and refreshing and refreshing. And the way I found out about it was, I read somebody on Twitter had said, "I can't believe it, Constance Zimmer got nominated for an Emmy." And I was like, oh my God, I don't know. Is this real? Is this not real? And it was crazy. So it's still so surreal for me, because we all talk about, we don't necessarily need awards to feel that we're doing great work. But for this show in particular, it felt like such an incredible honor and gift that the show was recognized enough that I could be recognized outside of it, even on top of that. We're not a hugely successful show. Not everybody has seen our show. We're not Game of Thrones. We're not watched by millions and millions of people. So to stand out in what is an incredible market of insane performances and insane shows, I couldn't really comprehend it. And I mean, I still really can't comprehend it. I can't even comprehend it when I have even conversations with you guys just about talking about Emmys. I'm like, really? Does anybody even know who I am? So it's definitely a huge highlight, and one of the greatest things to happen to me in my life, really.
Well, Constance Zimmer, thank you so much, and congratulations on another fantastic season of UnReal. I look forward to season 4.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one.
Okay.